that stuff off. I want to build this thing. This has been my favorite Diamondback bike to ride for the last couple of years, but you've never seen me ride it because it's a prototype and I've had to ride it by myself in secret. Well, today is really exciting because the production version just showed up. So let's build it up and I'll tell you all about the bike. This is the brand new Diamondback Yowie 5C. We should probably get all this stuff off so you can see what it looks like. Let's get the seat post on now so we can get it in the stand. And remember, when you put your dropper post in, make sure to pull the remote through with it so you don't mess up your housing and cable as you do that. And we'll get some grease in before we're done with the build. Let's get the rest of the protective stuff off and start putting it together. We'll get this stuff all set up after it's built up. This bike looks ridiculous. I can't tell you how pumped I am on how it came out. So I've been working with the Diamondback product team for years, and the whole time I've been riding with them, I'm always working with them on new concepts and new bikes that we want. And we came up with this one because this is the bike that I think will fit a lot of people's needs. So I wanted a lightweight, fast rolling, short travel cross-country bike that was fun for everything. So you might have heard this category called downcountry, and that's kind of where this falls into. So it's 110 millimeters of rear travel, 130 millimeters of front. It's a 29-inch wheel bike, and it's meant to go fast, go far, and just be a really fun, efficient bike to have. So this is the Yowie 5C. It's the nicest version we make with a carbon frame and the nicest parts. We also have the 4C, which is the same carbon frame, different color, and then a little bit different parts to make it a bit more affordable. And it goes all the way down the Yowie 3, Yowie 2, Yowie 1 to fit your price point. Let's get this build finished up so we can get out on trail and I can tell you more about why we designed it the way we did, why this bike might be the right one for you, and why it's so fun. So the first thing we want to do is we got to get these stickers and reflectors and all the stuff off that has to come on a bike by law. And of course the reflectors keep you safe. So if you're riding on road, sure, keep them on. But if you're just riding on trail, feel free to take these things off. The dork disc as well back here, we got to get rid of that thing. And before you peel off your registration sticker, register it with Diamondback as well at diamondback.com/reg. And that way they know who owns the bike, and if anything happened to it, you're on the record with it. And it also makes sure you're in the system for your warranty. There's not much more satisfying than peeling fresh stickers off a fresh bike, right? Let's see what's in the goodies box too. So we got our manuals. We got a mud fender, so this mounts on your fork, and if it's muddy or rainy, it keeps everything from flying up into your face. That's nice. We got a shock pump because you got air suspension front and rear, so that'll help you dial that in. Carbon fiber assembly compound. So this is what you put between your seat post and your carbon frame so that you don't over tighten it. It's actually really cool stuff. It's got little beads in it that kind of smash down and you don't have to tighten things as much and it keeps them from moving. Got some Allen wrenches if you don't have your own set. Got more reflectors, which we might not need if we're not riding on the road, but we do have some other important stuff. So this is what holds your front brake line to your fork. We're gonna need that. We got valve stems in case you want to run your tires tubeless. Everything's tubeless ready, so you just throw these on, put sealant in, and you should be good to go. Extra derailleur hanger in case you bend it, which is really nice, and bolts for that. As well as these little cable tenders. So these go in between your cables, so it's got a 5mm and a 4mm side to hold your brake line and your shifter line together and really clean up the front end of your bike. That's nice. And then the bike comes with flat pedals as well. So this is awesome. These are metal pedals and they're good shape and they feel great. So you're off to a good start with everything you'll need to get riding outside of a helmet, really. These pedals come with the traditional spot for pedal wrenches, or if you don't have one of those, a 6mm Allen wrench going through the crank arm in the back of the pedal works just fine too. Putting on pedals is one of the things that people mix up all the time and forget which way they rotate because one is backwards threaded. And so that's so they don't come off when you're pedaling. So the main thing to remember is left pedal has a L on it and a sticker that says that too. Goes on the left crank arm. And when you put them on, you're pedaling backwards. So imagine your wrench is here and you pedal backwards, so turning it this way. So no matter which one you're putting on, left or right, just think about putting the wrench on and then pedaling backwards in a circle. And that's the easiest way to remember. So then you pedal forwards to take them off while holding the wrench on there. I usually go through the whole bike with a bolt check just to make sure everything's snugged up. It should be all dialed out of the box, but you never know. And that's just something I do on all my bikes my whole life. The last thing I like to do before taking it off the stand is make sure that my brakes are adjusted right and they're not rubbing and they're in the right place, and that my derailleur is shifting how it's supposed to and everything's set up well. It should be pretty close, but if you're not comfortable doing that yourself, just take it down to your local shop and get it done there. They'll be happy to help you. So setting up the cockpit is a personal thing, but some stuff is pretty standard, like adjusting your headset tension, and that's the first thing we're gonna do right now. So you want this, while your stem bolts are loose, snug enough so that it doesn't move and kind of click when you go back and forth. But if you tighten it too much, it'll just overload the bearings. So snug it up just enough so that it doesn't move when you hold your front brake and move it forward and back. But then when you pick up the front end, it still moves nice and smooth. Once you get your headset tightened right, then you can snug up your stem bolts. And of course, make sure it's straight. Then we're going to adjust our handlebars. I just threw them on when we put them on initially. So you see there's some bars right here for adjustment, and you basically hide those behind this stem, and there's a Diamondback logo there that you can make sure is in the middle. And then you're lined up nice and even. So with your handlebar rotation, if they're too far forward, it's weird. Too far back feels weird. And what you want is basically the rise of the bars as it comes up. You want that to be about in line with the angle of your fork, more or less. And it's a personal thing, and you can see what feels good, but generally speaking, you're gonna wanna have it like that. And then you want your faceplate to be tightened so that the gap on the top and the bottom is even, so that your faceplate isn't kind of out of the way one way or another. One of the most important parts of bike setup is getting the brake levers dialed so they actually fit your hands and are in the right place. So a lot of times I'll see the brake lever pushed up against the grip, and that puts your finger right here on the inside of the brake lever. And that's completely the opposite of how you actually want it set up. So what we want to do is move our brake levers away from the grip a little bit so that we just have one braking finger, and that braking finger is at the end of the brake lever. So when you pull the brake, you want your finger all the way to the outside of it. And that's because you have the most leverage. So it actually makes your brakes stronger just by having your finger on the outside of the brake lever versus the inside. And then for the brake lever angle, if they're too far down, you're gonna get arm pump. And if they're too far up, they're gonna be weird too. So you can get a angle finder out and measure it if you want to, or you can just put it, a little bit down from flat like this and slid in to where your finger's at the outside of the lever. And then we're gonna snug this up. The next part of it that we wanna do is this little knob right here. We want to adjust this so that the brake lever comes further in, because if it's too far out, it's actually gonna make your arms really tired too when you're braking, and it doesn't need to be that far away from the handlebars. So we're gonna use this little knob right here and adjust this. I'm unscrewing it counterclockwise, which puts the brake lever closer to my hand. And you wanna find a good spot to where it doesn't hit your grip when you pull the brake lever, but it's nice and close, and it's gonna feel really nice. It might feel weird at first if you've been used to running it any of the other ways, but give this a shot. I think you're gonna love it. Same thing for your dropper remote. You want this in a place where the thumb lever doesn't hit your thumb when you're holding the grips, but you can still reach the lever and then push it when you need to so that you can drop your seat when you get into something steep. So you can actually put your dropper remote on either side of the brake lever clamp right here, and then it has its own adjuster where you can slide it left or right to get it in the right position for your thumb. So the last things I'm gonna do before we go ride is adjust my tire pressure. So I'm gonna run somewhere in the upper 20s for these tires. These are really fast rolling tires, which fits the character of the bike really nicely, but still have traction where you need it. There's a little more traction up front. And then I'm gonna set my seat height for myself. I might angle the seat down just a hair, but that's a personal preference. So set that up how your seat feels good for you. And then make sure to set the sag on your suspension. So I'm not gonna go into that on this video, but there's plenty of videos on it, and the Fox owner's manuals and the Fox website will help you learn how to do that as well. So let's get that done and get out on the trail. So we're out here on trail now, and you might be wondering, what's this bike built for? Well, with 110 travel in the rear and 130 in the front, it's meant to be a high-speed trail ripper. So this thing climbs incredible. That was something I really wanted out of this bike. Diamondback always does an awesome job of speccing their bikes, and no matter what price point you're coming in at, they make sure that the parts are actually usable and rideable, and it's not something we're gonna have to switch everything out as soon as you get the bike anyway. So right now we're looking at the 5C. And so this has Fox suspension front and back, and the shock is the DPS, so it has the open mode, trail mode, and lockout. And then the front is a 34 with the grip damper, so you can adjust the compression up top, rebound at the bottom, and it's built on the 34 mil chassis there. It's got SRAM 4-piston brakes, front and back, with 180 rotors, so when you are charging down downhills, you have confidence with your brakes. It's not some super light, weak cross-country brake. For the drivetrain, it's running the full SRAM GX. So we got a 1052 cassette, so that's the widest range you can get, and everything shifts incredible. It just works perfect all the time. I love this drivetrain. So the whole bike comes together just perfect. You really don't need to change anything out of the box. Just put it together and go ride. I think this is the bike that is probably the most versatile in the lineup, really. That's gonna be the perfect bike no matter where you live. Short travel 29er is just so much fun because it's efficient and quick and fast on the climbs, and then on the downs it's got great geometry with the head angle and all the angles really to be really fun and playful and confidence inspiring on the way down. And that's what the 130 travel on the Fork gets you as well, just a bit more confidence as you're riding into more technical things. So that's what we're going to do today, go out and ride some high-speed fast flowy trails as well as some more chunk and stuff like that. And I think it's the bike that most people need to be on. A lot of people are on more travel than they need for the trails that they ride. So this bike's really fun. Check it out at diamondback.com, and yeah, hope you get one and enjoy it as well.